Okay, so in this video, I sync up with a fellow Porsche enthusiast. He owns a 987.2, and we are able to drive each other's car and give our honest feedback on each.
This is how my shifter was from the factory. Yeah.
I recognize yours is better. Significantly better.
No. So I think it's better if you are trying to drive like quickly and aggressively. I think if you're kind of just cruising at a brisk pace, this is totally sufficient. Yeah. Okay. But I recognize this is exactly how mine used to feel.
Yeah. So what you're experiencing there with the shifter is essentially
it is definitely
just the Porsche short shift kit with no with the factory cables.
Are you perfectly happy with the shifter feel, and did you consider that function first, like upgrade of the internals?
I'm perfectly happy with the shifter feel, but do you feel that like kind of grindy nature going between?
To me, it's not grindy. It's just really stiff. Like
okay.
Stiff.
Yeah. It's stiff, but like I would like it to be a little less noisy in the shift. You know what I'm describing? Like when I'm like it is tight, but I felt tight without this sort of I don't know. I just want it to be a little smoother, just as tight.
Yeah. Otherwise, the placement, the driving position, the ergonomics all feels very similar.
There's a guy on YouTube that was talking about how similar the parts are. So he did a comparison list and was like, you know, all of them are whatever.
The part numbers start with 997, and then whatever their subsequent numbers are, and they're mostly similar. I think driver's seat back is when they start to change. Everything driver's seat forward is pretty unique, and I think the 911 suspension is pretty unique as well. That sounded much louder on the outside when you started it at the house.
It's super quiet in here.
It is quiet in here, actually. Yeah, I thought it was pretty loud over there.
Oh, and then when it starts cold, it does rev up a little bit. It does sound pretty aggressive.
Yeah. Same operation there. Oh, that's nice. I don't have that.
So right now it's in regular mode, not sport. Yeah. So it is interesting. It's a slightly different. Getting out of first is just kind of touchier.
Okay. Yeah, the clutch, the shift handshake is instantly familiar. I think it's just because it's got a quarter of the miles of my car, so everything's gonna naturally be just a bit more taut. I feel that in the shifter. Steering right away, actually.
Steering the same, or you feel like it's
the same? I think it's about the same. Yeah, there's a bit more tautness here, but I think that's not as much the steering difference as it is the suspension difference. Your front suspension, I think, is just quite a bit more taut with all the upgrades you've made. Okay, this could be in my head, but the steering feels lighter.
Well, I've noticed that on acceleration, the steering is like, you can tell that the weight is lifted off, right? And there's like, it's uncomfortable for me because it feels so light.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels tighter to me. The steering?
It does, doesn't it? There's a difference there. Yours is still precise, but there's a heft to this one.
Yeah, there's a quickness too to this than mine. I think if you get the upgraded suspension, it'll be nice. I think so too. Feel it even more.
Yeah.
It's your first time driving a 997.2.
This is my first time driving a .2. Yeah, I drove a .1. Again,
it's in both the standard and S variant. You haven't driven any of those.
No.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. This
cool.
is it. Yeah. I appreciate you letting me drive this. This is surprisingly feels a little like bouncier than my car on these roads, but I think again that's
the suspension. That's what they say.
Yeah.
They say that this is slightly more than the whatever standard, and then when you put the whatever sport mode on with the PASM or whatever, it's really stiff. It just bounces like crazy. So I turn that off. Yeah, it feels a little bit bouncy. Like a softer bounce, not so much a jittery bounce, but a softer bounce.
There's that torque. I can just feel like it doesn't quite feel like it's. Okay, yeah, the power in the mid range really makes this really makes this a lot more enjoyable, actually. There you go. That right there.
You don't have that?
I don't quite have that. Yeah, I get it eventually, but by the time I get it, I've almost
even when you're up on the revs.
When I'm up on the revs, I get it, but
Okay.
here I'm not up on the revs.
Yeah,
right? I'm at 3, and I'm getting a lot of thrust, a lot more than I'm used to in the Cayman.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. The throttle.
Yeah, you feel the lack of torque.
Yeah.
It is a momentum car in some ways, in many ways. The throttle tuning and mapping feels a bit more dull, but
Okay.
I think it's because you have modes. I don't have modes, right? So my normal state.
Oh yeah, you should definitely try the.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and flip it in.
Okay,
Flip it in the
so-
sport. Yeah.
We'll do that.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna take off the shock because
Yeah.
it's too bumpy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. That's a good. I like this. I think I would just keep it in this all the time.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I let it warm up in the
Yeah, yeah.
non-sport mode,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then, but you'll
Oh,
see,
yeah.
starting off at first, it's just kind of a little bit touchy.
Oh, okay. I guess I haven't done that part, right?
And that's,
Yeah.
but once you're driving, it's perfectly. That's the way to do it. Did you say you did anything with the throttle response on this?
No,
Is tuned in anyway?
this is just as it comes, and there's no adjustment.
Okay.
Yeah. The rotation is very familiar. Very familiar rotation.
Oh, the brakes feel.
Brakes feel good. Brakes feel identical. I actually was just thinking that. Brakes feel identical. Man, yeah, this road would be kind of messy. I do feel a little bit like I'm wearing a backpack in this car, where the back end is like, it's there. There's like a presence to the back end. I mean, I'm stating the obvious here, but yeah, you can kind of feel it in the way the weight just sort of transfers around you. You have to factor for that coming in, and then I know there's the famous like throttle off over. You have to just plan for it. I think that's all it really is. But once you plan for it, you get a lot more communication and control than you get in any of these other cars. That's kind of my like aggressively driving. The gear you're in doesn't matter anywhere near as much as in my car. I'm just plugging along at 2 here.
Oh, I see.
We're good. Like look at this. We're
Yeah. You know, I'm just used to that. Honestly.
Yeah, you're used to that.
Yeah.
And your 928 probably is similarly torqued. You know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What else? No, I'm like instantly familiar though. Like everything here forward feels identical. I thought getting into this, just even looking at it from the outside, but just also the notion of what a 911 means compared to a Cayman, I expected it to feel larger in here, but everything forward feels identical. I think if I look back, there's a bit more airiness in this cabin versus mine, but because I effectively have a ledge up here and back, and there's nothing there. But yeah, that's where I think I'm okay. Yeah, my answer before we hit the stretch probably would have been maybe my car is the more like fun one on these roads. But now that we can open up the engine a little bit, I think it all depends on the types of roads you have. If it's more sort of open, wide sweepers like this, you need this car. You need the power. You need the torque. But if it's super tight and twisty, the power's not doing much for you here. You're still like sort of then the weight transfer equation comes back into play, and you have to factor for that.
Do you know the weight difference between your car and my car?
I'm gonna say it's like maybe 200 pounds.
Do you feel it? Do you feel like this is a little bit more?
No, I don't feel it actually. I don't feel it. I thought I would. I was kind of looking for it, but I don't actually feel it as much as I thought. No. Perhaps at the very limit there may be something there, but with what I'm sort of comfortable, what I normally do here, I don't think I actually feel it. And I think the steering lightness plays into that a little bit. It probably kind of gives it a more lighter weight feel, but no, I don't actually notice that.
Have you driven?
I've driven a 996 as well. Yeah.
How does that feel?
Okay, 996. I think it gets a lot of like justified credit for being affordable, and you know you can easy to get into if you find one in good shape. Like by all means go for it. It'll still give you a 911 experience, but ultimately like I found it a little
And this goes for the 986 as well, which is another like good low-cost entry into Porsche world. I think that's what they are, good low-cost entries into Porsche world. I think you don't quite get the organic like raw feel of the 993s, and then you don't get 993s, yeah, and then you don't get the. I think it's unrefined in a non-value added way compared to this car. That's my point. Yeah.
So it's almost there, but it's either it's trying to be one. Yeah. It's trying to be like lukewarm. It's trying to be one way.
Agreed.
A little bit, but then yeah, I can see that.
It's a bit neither here nor there. But as a standard recommendation, I would say if you can spring for it, just get the 997.2. And if you can't spring for that, get the 987.2. They're still getting you into one of the greatest driving Porsches of all time. Generations of Porsches of all time. That corner pullout's top of second. Second is my favorite gear on this road. You're probably a big fan of second gear in this car too.
Well, dude, I haven't really stretched its legs. I mean, I've been out here once.
Oh my god, you feel it in your gut. Yeah. This is like a gut pushing into your stomach fast. My car is not that fast, but yeah, no, I think you made a great choice here. It was perfect the way it's set up. I wouldn't touch it. Yeah. No, this is why this is like fundamentally as costly as it is relative to other 911s.
So you sense that it's worth it.
I think it's worth it, but I'm extremely biased. I love the hydraulic steering. I love just how small this car feels. I know if you look at the dimensions between this and the 991, 992, they're not like crazy larger, but they look larger. And the interior, when you're sitting, I haven't sat in a 991 in a while, but I sat in a 992 recently, and it's large space. There's like more distance between us. I haven't driven a 992. No, okay. I've driven a 991. I haven't driven a 992.
What did that feel like, the 991? Like in terms of its size, did you feel it?
No, I can't really say. I can't say that you like feel the size in a way that's like super like tangible. But I don't know. I don't know how to describe that car. What I do have a lot of seat time in is the 981 Cayman, and I can compare that to mine in greater detail, and it's a much more refined experience. You feel like this car is refined. That's like a couple layers like more refined. Like this is as organic as it gets, I think, in terms of still having modern amenities and like good reliability and all.
But your steering rack is also the same, right? It's
same steering rack. Okay, yeah. There's two types of steering racks. I think there's ours is the same, and then there's the GT3 steering rack you could get, which I'm not sure like how useful that is with the setup of the rest of the car. Perhaps if you upgrade some suspension components to go with the new rack, maybe you can get something there. But you're going down like a rabbit hole that, like driving it on this road here, I had no like desire for something to be stiffer or tuned in any different way. I feel like you're in total control, and nice work on the suspension. I think it's.
Oh, I didn't do anything. This is how it came. All I did was raise it.
Oh, you just raised it. Okay,
all I did was raise it because it was so low.
Yeah, no, I think it's. I think they did pretty good with it. Yeah. Cool.
No, this is. I think people will. You should put this on race.
I should. Yeah. Just line it up. You can get like a piece of fabric and just put push pins in to place yourself, and then once you have the push pin,
that'll be my issue. Is I have to make sure it's perfectly centered and all this other stuff.
But yeah, just get a little rope, get that visually straightened. You don't need to like measure it specifically, but then you just leave those push pins in and replace them with these tabs. It takes maybe 2-3 hours if you want to do it carefully, but it's a $10 solution to what's otherwise and it's a conversation starter to what's otherwise a couple $100, not even, maybe like $800,000 upholstery if you take it to an interior upholstery.
We're gonna call it the Mahesh.
I'll take it. Yeah.